Adam, I suppose the big thing during the week was the response, and you just didn't get that in the first quarter. Do you sort of know what happened there?
Yeah, we got jumped a fair bit in that first quarter. It's 3 weeks in a row now. Inability to keep the ball in our front half was a concern. So that's something we really got to work on. We're working on it, but we haven't seen it on field. So I think throughout the day, in the contest, and stoppages, and the clearances we held our own, and particularly in the middle, which is something we worked on from last week. And we had the same amount inside 50s. So there's some things there that we like, as opposed to last week, we were like nothing. But when we got it in there, we either need to score or we can't keep it in there. So worked hard on it during the week, but we didn't see any change in the first quarter in particular, and whether it was system or just the loss of the contest. So I don't know what our contest numbers were in our forward 50. But if we don't get that right, it makes it hard to delay the game. And I thought Melbourne, rebounded really well from our front half. So I think they ended up kicking 2 goals from stoppages and 3 goals from our forward 50. So we're pretty clear what we're going to get better at. Yeah.
But there was that whole talk though of we need to respond. The players were saying it. You were saying it. Were you nervous early on that it was going to be a blowout when they?
Oh no. Yeah. Look, we want to be better than we've been. I thought we were a little bit better in parts of the game, but we're coming from a fair way back. So our effort and intent, I think it was there for the most part. We couldn't stop the transition piece. So yeah, I'm not happy, but I'm not throwing my hands in there saying what was that either. So I think we lost the second half by a goal maybe. We had 24 forward-half turnovers. So we did some things there that we'll take some positives from, but not good enough. And we played Melbourne 6 games ago, so you can sort of ask the question, what's the difference? So we'll keep working on that. But if we're not dominant around the contest and clearances, we're struggling.
You started Jack Williams as the technical sub, and then obviously that meant you had to use Darling as the backup ruckman. What was behind that decision?
Just thought we'd give it a go. Yeah. The tools. I don't think tools have been a massive issue, because we haven't had the ball in our front half that often, and when we did have a taller forward line against Essendon, it looked okay. With Flynn going out, we're going to try a couple of things. So not saying that's going to happen every week, but he's never done it before. We thought we'd have a look at it, and we know Jack can do it as well. So that's all work in progress stuff.
Because when the game was up for grabs, looking at first, especially in the first quarter, and you touched on it before, but it just really seemed like there was a real lack of pressure around the Melbourne ball carrier. I mean,
that's my point. I might not articulate it very well, but from that front half, every time it went in there, it came out pretty quick, didn't it? So, and quite often it was, the system was okay, but contest was a problem, or we got outnumbered in a ground ball situation. So, when the game opened up, we struggled a little bit. When we closed it down and shut them down, we looked a bit better. So, yeah, that's just the honest appraisal we can give.
Is it something? I know it's a $1 million question, but is it something that you can coach, getting the pressure up? Is it like
you can? If you take away uncontested marks, your pressure looks better.
Yeah.
If you play really slow and skinny football, your pressure might look better. If you don't switch it and just kick it down the line. So there's all those type of things, but in general, if you concede that many uncontested marks, your pressure's not looking great. I mean, we played Essendon a few weeks ago. They're really good at it. They did it to Collingwood, So Melbourne changed their way in recent times. They've sort of embraced the contest a bit more, but today they had a bit of both, which we couldn't handle.
I guess given the story that broke late last week with the players seeing text messages, it's obviously another heavy defeat. Do you sort of feel like you do have the confidence of the players after that? What's your mindset after that?
Mindset's fine. It doesn't change. We're not on a linear path here. This is not. We finished last year, so your expectations of us last year, I'm not sure what they were, but ours was, let's just get better. Let's get better around some of the basics of the game, and that's what we're trying to do. So until we're consistent at it, it's going to be up and down. And the last couple of weeks, it's been down, but that doesn't mean all hope is lost. We can't ride that wave. So whether it's me or someone else, it doesn't matter. It's going to take time.
Yeah. Does a result like this concern you, though, so soon after that story broke, and it's a pretty heavy loss?
I must be very clear today. I can't answer that question any better than I just did. So no, I'm not. I said this in the media over in Perth that, there's always unhappy players, and especially when we're out of contention so early for finals. So there's out of contract players, there's guys playing in reserves. There's always someone who's disgruntled. We can't apologise for trying to get better. So you'd be pretty upset if everyone was really happy. So we'll keep working on it. We'll stay resilient, try and lead as best I can, and hopefully I've answered that as well as I can.
Any injuries today?
Yeah, McGovern's been sent to hospital with, I don't know, but it's some sort of rib or lung issue. So just going to make sure he can fly. Unfortunately, I think that's the second time that's happened to him in the last 3 weeks. So hopefully it's not the same area, but he's a bit sore.
How did that one happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I was in the middle of the ground. There was a pretty big collision. It was just the hip and shoulder. So.
During the week, I suppose there was questions about, selection and whether you were going to make sweeping changes after the loss last weekend. You didn't, and then sort of lose this weekend. Is that something you've now got to look at? You said you weren't going to do knee-jerk reactions to those, but 2 weeks in a row, do you have to look at that now?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Looking at the depth of our list and the availability and who's available and their form. So there's just play the young players and just get them in there and see how they go, which we've done for a large part. But they've got to have a bit of form as well. But I think we need to make a couple of changes. So we'll look at that as the week goes through. Some will be forced and some will be more about our direction. So this is probably a period where we explore different avenues of different positions, different players. So 7 games to go. So we'll keep looking at that and try and get the mix right.
So how important is it to respond now at home next week, where you've had a patch of pretty good footy, but you haven't been good for a little bit there?
I suppose you've got every right to ask, well, what's your response? What's your response? But the answer is going to be the same. Like, we just want to get better at the basics. I thought we coughed the ball up a lot today. So the pressure that Melbourne put on, we sort of coughed up and they handled pretty well. So we need to work on the fundamentals of the game. And that won't change whether we win by 10 points or lose by 10 goals. The basics of the game is where we've started this year, and it's where we'll finish regardless of the results.
I just want to ask, just earlier, you touched on it, whether it's you or whether it's another coach, it's going to be hard regardless, but, AFL history, when a team performs this poorly over an extended period,
yeah,
coaching changes can happen, unfortunately.
Of course they can.
But do you feel confident that it will be the long term as well?
Yeah, look, I answer this question a lot back home, so yeah, I don't change. I'm here to do a job as best I can, and I'll do that until I get tapped on the shoulder. So it's not that's not really in question. So I sort of know how long the road's going to be. I'm up for it, but if the club's not, then they're not. So that's fine. I'm okay with my football mortality. It's okay.
What did you make of the physicality shown by Melbourne on Harley Reid today? Last time
I think he loves it. I think Harley loves the physicality. So I thought he was pretty good today, Harley, for periods of the game, for a 19-year-old. First game at the G. And I think he likes getting roughed up.
Oscar was pretty good today, wasn't he? One of the shining lights.
Yeah. Well, that combination, I think, with Jake having such a good start to the year and Oscar coming in and then playing 2 rucks, it's just taking a little bit of time to get that rhythm. Having 30 inside 50s last week's hard to judge that, but today we saw another probably step forward for Oscar. But with our supply, we probably didn't get bang for buck. I don't know how many deep entries we had, but we only kicked 2 or 3 goals from those deep entries, and we think for us to sustain our defence, we've got to get in pretty deep. So yeah, Oz, I think he made 3 or 4 shots a goal today. But yeah, there's still some work to do there with the rest of the forwards.